Oh, blimey, when will the BBC give up saying it? No one believes you. No one. Hi, it's me again. And yet the BBC are putting out that headline yet again that just drives me batty. Have a look at this headline. BBC chiefs can't rule out further cuts as licence fee freeze stings. And you read similar headlines to that quite a lot. The BBC are skint, they can't afford this. The BBC have got to cut channels because they haven't got any money. The BBC are letting staff go. The BBC are changing BBC News. They're taking things off Freeview. Oh, we ain't got enough money. How are we going to survive? You get, in the words of Tim Davie, 3.8 billion, with a B, quid a year in TV licence fee funds. You also make a lot of commercial profit from BBC Studios, BBC Productions, BBC Distribution, UK TV, and about 15 other private companies that wear the moniker of BBC. And yet, you still can't make your money stretch. And I'm sorry, no one's falling for it anymore because they know you're getting 3.8 billion quid a year. There are people sitting in their homes wondering how they're going to pay their heating bills this year, trying to manage a couple of £100 a month, and they manage to get through it. They juggle things around, they make it happen. And the fact that you can't make it happen with 3.8 billion quid is going to cost you a lot of sympathy this year, BBC. You want to start winding your neck in with stupid headlines and stories that you keep putting out like this, because all you're going to do is turn people off you. They reckon they've got nearly a £300 million black hole in their finances. How can you not manage 3.8 billion quid a year? Countries operate on less money than that. You're just a broadcasting company. Sort it out, because people are going to start losing a lot of sympathy for you, and you're going to lose a lot of TV licence fee payers this year. You really are. Right, let's look at this story. Speaking at a parliamentary committee meeting, Director General Tim Davie said it was possible that the broadcaster will need to continue to make painful decisions. The broadcaster has already said it will be merging BBC World News and BBC News Channel in a cost-cutting rampage, as well as axing Oxfordshire and Cambridgeshire's dedicated news channels and local radio. He agreed that he wouldn't be cutting journalists, but would be cutting programming in these areas. Well, what's the point in that then? What's the point? Now you've just got journalists sitting there scratching their asses all day. You've paid for the channel, you've paid for the radio station, but you're going to cut programming on it, but keep the journalists on that would be creating the programming for those outlets. I mean, I don't work in TV. I don't know the ins and outs of it all. But does that sound right to you? Davie told the committee that the BEEB remains under a significant amount of pressure, especially as inflammatory pressure and energy set to worsen in coming months. Look, we've all got to tighten our belts, Tim Davie at the BBC. Sadly, and I do mean very sadly, I don't have 3.8 billion quid a year to try and make last me the year. I understand that could be a struggle. I can understand how that would be hard to make that amount of money stretch. No, actually, to counter that, I can't. You've got a few telly channels, you've got a few radio stations, and you've got some offices scattered about. How are you not making this money stretch? I'll tell you why you're not making this money stretch, because if you did make it stretch and you had 500 million left over at the end of the year because you'd done your job properly, made cost cuttings and done everything you had to do to make the money stretch, if you had money left over at the end of the year, there'd be uproar that you don't need all the money from the TV licence fees and it would be cut. So you can't win either way here, basically, is what we're trying to say, isn't it? If you leave a black hole, it makes it look like you need more money, and we all dig you out because how much money do you need? Why can't you make it work? But if you do have an overrun of 500 million or something, we're going to dig you out for wanting so much money from the licence fees. The BBC can never win while it's funded by a licence fee. Do you wonder why I don't talk about ITV a lot on here? And the only stuff I do talk about ITV on is when I'm having a little poke at some of the programmes they've made I don't like very much, like Love Island, for instance. But I don't have any digs at how ITV operate. I don't care, because they pay for themselves. They work hard to make shows that bring in viewers, and the viewers bring in advertisers. And that's how they make their money. And they seem to be rather good at it. They turned over, 1.4 billion quid last year? So good for them. Everybody wins in that scenario. They are incentivised to make better stuff, which gets more viewers, which gets more money, and it goes round and round and round and round. and everyone's happy with them. You either watch them or you don't, it doesn't matter. But the way the BBC is funded, it's always going to get grief from people, always. It's time to end the licence fee and just stand on your own 2 feet, the BBC, and show blooming ads. You own UK TV, 100%. Go on the UK TV network, just Google UK TV and get their main website up, right, their corporate website, and click history or about at the bottom, and it will tell you all the history of the channel, or the network of channels, and how the BBC became 100% owners of it. And now, remember, like Dave, for instance, right? Loads of Only Fools, not Only Fools, loads of Top Gear on there, Gold, loads of Only Fools and Horses and stuff. All old BBC shows that you apparently paid for, you didn't, with your licence fees years ago, being shown on there with ads and sponsorship. All the Top Gears used to be sponsored by Halfords and that, didn't they? How much money did Halfords pay for that? The BBC are not scared of being commercial. And it's time. It's time now. Oh, you're never going to win. You will not win the BBC. And if you keep claiming that you're skin and you can't make 3.8 billion quid a year stretch at the minute, a lot more of the people that defend you are going to start falling out of love with you. I'm telling you. Yeah, it's tough for us all at the minute. We're all worried about how we're going to make our money stretch and trying to make a bit more money where we can. I've got zero sympathy for the BBC saying they can't stretch out 3.8 billion quid a year. Zero sympathy. What about you? Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because that way, hopefully, I'll see you in another video again soon. Why not? Ta-da.